Welcome to the Huffing Spirit Podcast, where we take you from the sacred to the profane, from the serious to the silly, from the outer to the inner, and from the guru back to you. Join your playful podcast guides, Alex Hindley and Natalie Dick, as they bring you back to a grounded and more authentic approach to spirituality.
There we go. We're back.
We're back for the episode number.
Are we really trying to put a number on it?
No.
Out of whack as we know we are with stuff?
Yeah. We're back. We're talking
it's the middle ground episode,
it's
guys.
The middle ground.
Guys
episode.
And gals.
Talking about middle ground today and how important it is to hold space for many, many different perspectives and why this is important.
Yes. Perhaps, I think everything we talk about is important, but...
I know. How inflated are we? Everything we say is important.
That's a valid point. Let's have
this podcast so we can have people hear us
please tell us how smart we are. Please
we're not that smart. We don't know anything.
We don't know anything. Follow us as much as you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Do your homework.
So, I think it's tremendously important. It's not just you're Canadian, I'm American. Mm-hmm. It's not just how divided our cultures are. Look at how divided the world is today.
Yeah, the polarity is
intense. And I think it's tremendously important because we're all being called to be bridge builders. And if we're all on an island, we're never going to be able to communicate with each other. So we have to learn how to hear people without taking it personally or not feeling like we're being attacked.
Yeah. And that's hugely important in holding space for somebody's opinion, viewpoint. You don't hold space from your head space. You hold space from your heart, right? And the heart has an infinite capacity to love, right? Not the head, because the head, when we come from the head space, it's more ego-driven. So, and we're going to break down what middle ground is and why it's so important. And I think that as we are navigating the world right now, especially post-pandemic, it's touchy out there. It's very, very, people are very sensitive, and this is not just, in conversations. This is all over social media. It is the cancel culture. It is a phenomena where political leaders are dividing people, and then people are feeling like they have to pick and choose a side, and then it's leaking into not only politics but everything from even the spiritual community. The spiritual community is divided. It's the division within people in all these different communities is insane. Nobody can come together anymore.
Yeah. They used to say don't talk about sports or politics. It's it's almost like everything now. Don't talk about anything. It's here's the challenge with that, because if we don't have a space to voice what we feel is truthfully important or authentic to us, if there is no space, we start to self-censor. Right. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there is a time and place to hold back with, there's specific situations, but self-censorship is, I would say it hurts the sovereignty of who we are. Yeah. Would you call that a form of repression?
Absolutely. If you can't express what you feel and what you know to be true for yourself, within the limitations of being extremely hateful, I'm not talking about that. But if
if you are holding back what you know to be true for yourself, because truth for one person is going to be very true. Like it's different for everybody. So if you are self-censoring how you feel and what you know to be true for you and what's best for you, but you don't have that space to actually express that, I absolutely think it's extremely repressive.
Yeah, and for me, it's a very important topic. I mean, my family is all over the board politically and on a lot of different ideas.
Yeah.
Last time recording, we were talking about authenticity.
Yeah.
And you said that it was almost like a beautiful curse. Like, well, sometimes authenticity is a very hard conversation. And like, I went home to Ohio and I had some very hard conversations. So that was what I was doing on my homework side of things. But I found myself literally having a conversation with my father. And my father was asking, like, almost thinking that I'm too idealistic for the world. And he said, like, what do we do? How do we figure this out? How do I put the male energy of fixing something onto this? And I proceeded to tell him, well, you have to get out of your male energy and stop trying to fix it. And sometimes it's not doing anything besides just listening and having an open heart and an open mind and not getting offended and feeling like somebody's attacking you because you identify as white, you identify as this, you identify as blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And just saying that, we're looking at truth through a diamond. And to think that your slice of the diamond, your angle, your fraction is the only thing that the light is coming through is crazy.
It's nuts.
It's nuts. And so people will think like, my dad thinks I'm a crazy leftist. And I'm like, no, I'm not actually telling you what I believe. I'm just saying there's a different opinion here. And my friends on the left will think, you voted for Trump. And I'm like, no, I'm just showing you that there's a different perspective here. So it's a real estate that is ever diminishing, but is ever in more need than it's ever been.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you brought up like what you identify with, because here's the thing is that we cannot have no growth ever happens without uncomfortable conversation, right? Mm-hmm. And discomfort within yourself, I always say, is a beautiful opportunity for you to self-analyze. Okay, what is it about this idea, opinion? What is it about it that really bothers me, right? And this is an opportunity for you to deal with maybe a discomfort within yourself. But also start to ask yourself, what identity of mine is being challenged, right? And identity is very wrapped up in the ego, right? All of our belief systems are wrapped up in the egoic framework. So when you read something, when you have a conversation with somebody and they're spouting off something that is triggering to you, and that this is really hard to do. This is really hard to do.
And we're not experts on it.
Yeah, Alex and I are not open heart conversations all the time. Trust me, I have very heated debates and conversations with many, many people, right? And especially specifically, probably mostly family. But I think what is important is when we can let go of our egos, right, and drop into our hearts, which when we're dropping into the heart space, right, when we're listening through the heart, not through the mind, which is our ego wrapped up in our belief systems identity.
And sometimes you have to like mentally put your energy into your heart. Like you have to like
shove it down there, right? It's challenging, but when you can listen from a heart space, you're not coming from a place of judgment. You may not, it doesn't mean that you have to agree with that person, right? You don't agree, but you can sit there within your heart space and lean in with curiosity and say,
curiosity.
Oh, okay. Tell me more. this is
what led you to that,
Yeah, and I think that, holding middle ground on a spectrum of many different poles of opinions, of energies, of everything in this world, sitting in the middle doesn't mean that you are agreeing with all of it. You don't have to be in agreement. You don't have to sacrifice your own belief system or what feels true to you. But the more perspective that you can take in, the better able you are to see so many parts of this world that you weren't able to.
Yeah, and I find when you are curious and you're just trying to find out, a lot of people get in the one-upmanship of it.
Yeah, well, it's the debate, the fight.
Exactly, yeah. So, talking to a family member, oh, well, what do you think about when they did this? You go, oh, well, what about when so-and-so took $1 billion from these people? Well, and at a certain point, is it more important to know that you can have the space to have a conversation?
Yeah.
Or are you just trying to blow, is it more important to let cars go back and forth on the bridge and deliver goods and services? Or is it more important to you to blow up the bridge and be like, I did it. That was me. I won.
Totally. And, I'm going to give you a little example. So George my son, just started school. And he started school and he came home, and obviously when little children with any type of transition, there's lots of, let's say, meltdowns, right? And so the other day I was asking him, how was school? He said, Mommy, I don't think that they like me. He said, I don't think that they like me, like his new students or whatever. A normal, typical reaction of mine, and this again is jumping in judgment. A normal reaction that I would normally have would be, oh, no, they don't. You probably have lots of friends. But I sat there and I said, oh, honey, can you tell me more about that? And guess what happened? He opened up and he told me more information. He said, well, I think that what did he say? He said something about the kids, him being the only kid in the class with glasses. I said, oh, can you tell me more? And, that curious approach, instead of me projecting my idea of what I think it should be. And I know that this isn't in a situation where it's, but in the most minute way, it's not me trying to change his opinion, right? It's me curious, asking more. Tell me about that more, so that I get more information so I can understand his experience in that moment instead of projecting my own idea of what his experience should be.
I think it's beautiful.
And I didn't just make this up. I watched an Instagram video on, I watch a lot of stuff on parenting and stuff like that with little kids, like conscious parenting and blah, blah, blah. So this was not my idea. It was something that I had heard and I learned and I applied it and I got more information by curiously asking instead of projecting, well, oh no, that's not true, So, and
sometimes as a parent, you want to you don't realize you're doing it. You just want to be done with it. Or no, you're great. You're wonderful.
Yeah, you're great. No, the kids love you. La, la, la. And meanwhile, he's like, but that's what my experience was at school. This is how I experienced it, and I'm telling you, and then you're telling me something else, right? So in the most fundamental way, if you can think of these conversations with these extreme poles of opinion, extreme poles of politics, whatever it is, it's like, can you actually sit and listen with curiosity and say, oh yeah, tell me more? And don't agree with it, but can you actually listen? Because I guarantee you, there are going to be so many nuggets of information as to why that person came to that conclusion.
I almost cut you off as you were talking.
Okay, go. Cut me off. Go.
I completely forgot what I was going to say. I was just like, I was going to say it. I was like, no, I'm not being a good listener because I'm trying to.
Oh, yeah. So tell me, what's your opinion on that, Alex? Tell me more.
No, I think it's a conversation with a kid, but they're also going to be modeling that, like, and I think if you can have the awareness in the moment or the intention to want to try to slow yourself down in basic everyday conversation, who do I want to be in this moment? And in that moment, I'm hearing you choosing to be somebody that listens to their kid rather than you projecting what you think their world to be. And that kind of sums up everything that we're talking about. Like how much of this that we're actually talking with other people are we just projecting? Guys are so guilty of it, right? Somebody, your spouse is saying, "Oh, I have this. You need to do this. You need to do that, or you want me to go fix it for you?" Very like masculine energy. Just tell me what I can do to get it off my plate to fix it so that you're good and you're happy.
Yeah, the fixing it. No, I just actually want you to listen to me then. Or whatever it is.
And I heard, there's some good things on the internet. The one thing I heard was like somebody said, do you want me to help you or just support you? When the person starts talking, they just say, hey, do you want me to help you or do you want me to support you? I'm not saying I do this. I'm saying like, I'd love to get to that point. But I'm an asshole, let's just call it what it is. I don't want anybody to ever come out and be like, oh, Alex is really an asshole. I've told people I'm an asshole from day one.
I think you're a bit of an asshole, Alex. I'm just
good. Good. I'm an authentic asshole.
You are 100% an authentic asshole. I'm just kidding. No, you're great. I love the assholeness about you.
Assholiness.
Assholiness. That's better.
I got a promotion. I'll take it.
There you go. So yeah, and so family is the most triggering, right? And
spiritual training ground.
Yeah, totally. It's like when people are like, oh, I think I've healed from that. I'm like, go home and sit with your family for 3 days and come tell me how you're doing.
I'm an enlightened person. You can't fucking talk to me like that. Do you know how smart I am? Do you know how long I can fucking meditate? Shut your mouth, you fucking idiot.
So I can't get back on. Okay, middle ground. So like when you're having actually I'm going to backtrack. Where I was going with my thought earlier is like internet and like trolling and these being on social media, and you have these Facebook wars and people are like arguing. For me, when I see that kind of stuff, I'm just like, guys are like, you're wasting. Like, what are you doing? It's like these little tidbits of comments and these one-dimensional little things that have it's like you can't even grasp the meaning. It's like it's such a linguistic war on these like threads. It's hilarious that people still participate in these things.
Like the desire to want to dominate somebody, but also not be known. It's like
it's the trolling. Yeah, and that's where I think social media, it gives people the opportunity to just blurt shit out without any repercussions. Because if you were in a tribe and you blurted that shit out, guess what? You're out. You don't have food, right? But on social media, you get to act like a person that lacks total compassion and just like, I'm going to blurt my shit out on social media. And you can do that without any repercussions because that's just how it goes.
I don't know. I'm going to sound like a conservative here. I think old people should be tested to drive. I think you should be tested for the internet every few years to maintain if you should have a social presence. And fuckers, I don't have one. P.S. Shut up. So, but like...
Alex does not have social media.
Not yet. I'll probably sell out soon. I was on for a little bit. I started finding myself observing that I would either like really admire somebody and be like, oh, they're so cool. Or I would slowly start losing respect for people, like people that I thought were like badass instructors and they're like posting pictures of themselves meditating every day. You're like, first rule of meditation club, don't talk about meditation club. Yeah. Second rule of meditation club, don't talk about meditation club. So it's like I found myself oscillating between these two extremes, and I was just tired of feeling like that. I mean, I feel weird enough internally already without without
without the outside influence of people's like energetic influence on social media. Yeah, it's a shitstorm. But I think like some etiquette on social media is, if I have a page, if I have an account and I'm posting something that I believe in, blah blah blah, without being like very offensive, right? That's my space. That's my living room. I would say that that's my home. Would I go into your house and just start trashing it with, no. So I think what's really crazy is that, people have a lot of opinions and they like to project, and there is no kind of social mores when it comes to social media, right?
Well, we could get very sidetracked on the topic, but I have seen like some proof, that the internet isn't always bad people, where the people just, hey, I don't know if you know how this sounds. I'm reading it like this. I'm hoping that you meant it like that. And the person says, you know what? I actually meant it like that, but I can see where my typing is.
Right, yeah. So it's not all bad. You're right.
But to the middle ground thing, I mean, the social media is a component in the fact that most of us are attached to it. We're in our own echo chambers, and I love the idea of America in the concept of it that like everybody can have their own opinion and everybody can do, but it's getting more, via social media, via the news networks. And I also think there's this thing that like we have to differentiate ourselves. We're struggling more and more than ever before to identify and differentiate ourselves in many different ways, whether it's tattoos or dress or other things that you could easily get canceled for talking about.
Yeah, which we probably won't mention because we're going to get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
We're going to self-censor.
and the topic then is, just holding space. And I've had friends that are within the LGBTQ community, and out loud I've said, I don't understand this issue. And they said, well, you're closed-minded and da 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 da. And I said, no, I don't understand astrophysics either. I don't have a scientist punching me in the fucking face.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm against this. I just told you I don't understand it. So I think there needs to be middle ground for people to have space to express their misunderstandings or their not understanding of their own ignorance on something. And unfortunately, you just can't be ignorant. But this is what we're called for. And eventually, if you're doing the spiritual work, you're listening to this, you have to have middle ground. And middle ground isn't, as you were saying, it's not agreeing with them. It's just providing the space to show them that there's different angles of the diamond.
Oh, I like that.
That's a pen. I stole it from my wife. Her desk.
With a rhinestone?
Sure.
Yeah. Is it really a diamond pen?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if I should put it on a ring or if I should spend $50,000 on a diamond to put on a pen that she'll use in her office. And it paid off. It paid off.
She's got a great job. So yeah, back to holding middle ground. Okay, what would you say are the advantages to holding middle ground for not even for the outside world, but internally, specifically for yourself?
I think it allows the space for you to turn off your own program for a little bit. Certain teachers of ours are very good about this. Pierre Teilhard would say this. Wilbur would say that. Einstein might say this. Napoleon Hill was big on the idea of having like a mental consortium of people that you would bounce ideas off of like, well, Abraham Lincoln would think about this. And for me, the more of those sides of the diamond that I can begin to hold, sometimes they're contrasting. The first contrasting idea you could ever understand is the Tao, the yin and the yang existing, one expanding, one contrasting, they're both being within each other. You can't have you can't have fullness without emptiness type of thinking.
Yeah.
And once you can understand that, you can start to see like, okay, I can hold other ideas that are diametrically opposed, but somehow connected. Mm-hmm. There's an energetic component there that's like feeding each other. And the more that I start to hold different spots of the diamond, the less I can say that this is actually where I think I stand. And I can also observe myself as I listen to a podcast, I hear a good idea, and then I'm like, oh, they're right. And then I take that point and I think it's my own. So I'm now acknowledging like how quick I am to pull off of a soundbite and let that be my own. I stop asking myself the questions, do I really think that? Or did I just think it was a clever point that supports what I already believed?
Right. And that right there, I think you hit the nail on the head or hit the nail on the diamond.
Why would you do that for a diamond?
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't know why.
That Natalie Dick money.
That was a pun that went wrong.
Smash diamonds and snort them like cocaine.
Yeah. So I think like the benefit to you, somebody personally having middle ground and holding different perspective is it really helps you to dissolve some of those egoic structures that you are gripping onto, potentially for whatever reasons, right? And it's just opening you up to many other truths, right? Because there's truth is not just, there is no one truth, right? There are many, many truths. There's absolute truth and relative truth, but
well, then you start talking Ken Wilber. You talk about integral systems theory, and you talk about different levels of consciousness and awareness and understanding. And he says that everybody is right to a degree.
Yeah.
And I think if I understand the work properly enough, it's about holding more perspectives.
Yeah.
The I, the you, the we, and the it. Looking at it all these different ways.
Right. And so when you are holding all of those perspectives, you are not just seeing through one lens of distortion, right? And again, not distortion, but like one lens, but you are allowing more to come into your system, right? And for me, when I'm challenged, when my belief system is challenged, and I can actually it's like a physical sensation in my body when my belief system is challenged.
Do you know where you feel it?
Feel it in my head. Yeah, I feel it physically. For me, that's a subjective experience, right? But when I feel that my ego is or my belief systems, because belief systems are very much tied up in the ego, right? So when my belief system is challenged and I experience something that is fresh and it challenges me, I actually almost have a physical sensation of in my body where it's almost like an expansion, right? Where I can feel an initial contraction in my head space when my belief system is being challenged. And then once I allow a new perspective to come in, I can actually feel more of an expansion in my energy system. So even though sometimes when we are holding space for somebody's perspective and it goes against everything within you, all of your beliefs and what you agree upon, there may be something that you just can't get on board with, but you're still holding space for it, right? And in that moment, I feel that holding that curious space, saying, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more, and understanding them from their perspective, you're empathetically connecting with them. That's where I think true empathy comes from, is when you can really understand somebody's experience.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can ever fully understand somebody's experience.
No, you can't get full grasp, but the more questions you ask, the more you understand that. So let me give this example. So say you're having a conversation with somebody and you don't agree with them, right? And it actually really bugs you, and it goes against everything that you believe in, right? Everything that you know in your body to be true, but you lean in with curiosity anyway, and you're like, I'm going to probe. I'm going to ask more. The more you understand that person's experience, it shifts and changes your whole understanding and perspective. Not changing it yourself, but you're grasping a little bit more of the entirety of somebody else. And that perspective shifting is, I think, really powerful.
I didn't realize it before until you were talking about it, but the dissolution of egoic structures is fascinating too.
Yeah.
So how do we begin to start holding middle ground? Like we've talked about it. How do you think one begins to get into it?
Well, I think it starts with self-reflection of your own beliefs, right? Reflecting on like, what are my core beliefs? What do I resonate with? These are some charged, look at some of the polarity in the world, right? Look at some of the polarity in the world. Like say, take one topic, one charged topic.
Astronauts didn't land on the moon in the 60s.
Or the earth is flat.
Oh, better.
You can
More
do
relevant.
that. Or something that charges you. Something where there's a charge, right? There's a charge within you and it may bother you. Okay?
Abortion. Recognize the charge.
Okay.
Where
did
that word? Where did you go with that word?
Yeah. So I think what's really important is when you know in your heart what your beliefs are around a certain topic, entertain the other side. Entertain the other side of it. Just try to get the perspective on it, just without even having conversations with people, right? I think like that self-reflection because sometimes you can get really stuck in one pattern of thinking and one belief system and one way of thinking. I will do this all the time. If I hear something on the news or there's, a politician is speaking and I'm like, oh, everything that he's saying is like, it's rubbing me the wrong way. That's a great opportunity for you to try to understand the other side of it. Mm. That's going to help you dissolve the egoic structure, right? And then I think what a really good practice when you're in conversation with people with difference of opinions, instead of projecting your opinions right away, be curious and ask more questions from that heart space. They tell me more. I want to know more. I want to know more. Because I think when somebody is heard, I think when somebody is validated for their experience and what their opinions are, whatever they are, as soon as you can offer that to them, I think it's a safer ground for then you to say, well, you know what? I have a different opinion, but that may help the dialogue to be a little bit more smooth, and maybe you can help bring in a little bit more perspective for the other person. I don't know. That's my thoughts. What do you think?
I don't know if I can top that. I love the self-reflection. I love the idea of just being curious. Like, what is your intention? And any day you have an opportunity to do this. One of those you listed was inner work. You're talking your reaction as something's coming up, and the other is external, yin yang, in out. So I think it's a good multifaceted approach.
Very hard to do. Yeah. But this is not easy. Like I've done the shifting of perspective and reflection when something really is charged within me. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to, the old saying, I'm going to put myself in those shoes. A debate with somebody probably about 3 months ago, and it was, I don't even want to say what it was over, but
I lost. We can admit I lost.
No, it wasn't a matter of being lost, but it was a matter of that person not even being able to open. This is the challenge. When you're trying to be a perspective and somebody will just can't and has a lack of willingness to see the other side. That's where it's a bit of a dead end.
Yeah.
Right. When there is no debate, and not even debate, I'm going to say dialect or conversation, when there is no opportunity for conversation, when you're at a dead end, that's when your middle ground, you're not going to go off your middle ground and go to the other side in agreement, right? You're just going to stand your middle ground. But standing middle ground and having a conversation with somebody who isn't even open to other perspectives, that's a dead end.
So how would you handle that situation when you get there?
Ask more questions.
Okay.
Keep asking questions. And you're like, interesting. And you can, refrain from mirroring back from your own perspective, because that can be incredibly charging for them as well. But ask more questions. But I mean, it's also not. It's
you're saying I get to that spot, and then I'll get to a spot where I have like a look on my face, and I'm like intellectually judging them, like, oh yeah, you're an idiot. Like it comes out on my face. So
yeah.
don't do what I do.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's tough though. Like the world is like, I feel like everybody is labeled right now. Here's another thing with middle ground, especially with, you can be in opposition to something, but also favor something over here. I feel like politically, everybody gets lumped into this one category if you have one belief system over here about it. Does that make sense? So people love to paint you with the same brush. So for me, politically, I am not liberal. I am not Republican. I'm sorry, in Canada, it's liberal or conservative. It's Democratic or Republican for you guys. I'm neither. I have decided to take the middle ground politically because I don't believe in either party.
I think they're both full of shit.
They're both full of shit. For me, I think it's, in my opinion, it's large corporations running this world, and it's like political figures are puppets, right? So I think we're led to believe that we actually have opinion, and this is the whole point of division, keeping people divided so you can't come together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
the more little factions you are, the harder it is to unite a bigger mass.
Yeah. So I think like middle ground really allows, like for me, I'm more concerned with connection versus separation. In the most simplistic way, connection versus separation. So when you are, again, coming from your head space and not your heart, you're going to be more in the ego, which is involved with your separateness from people, right? When you are more in your heart space, you're going to be more concerned with connection.
As Kurt says, unity without uniformity.
Yeah. And this is what I think is like one of the most powerful movements that I think is catching on is that, we can have our own truth and our sovereignty and still have respectful conversations and agree. We don't have to agree with everybody, but there's a space for you. There's a space for your truth too. And I think we're moving there, but right now it's so divided. And I think holding middle ground and having those heart-centered conversations led with curiosity are super important. It's so hard though. Hard work.
I love what you're saying about connection versus separation, because I think it does boil down to that. Because I think when you're really talking to somebody, I almost wonder if you don't hit them with the question like, well, do you want to separate people or do you want to unite people?
Yeah.
What's your intention? Or it's just your own inner intention as you're having this conversation of like asking the questions to determine if they're trying to separate or connect.
And that's essentially what it boils down to. And you can see that, in our Canadian government, we have many leaders not many, there are many leaders, but 2 leaders on both sides using divisive language purposely. You are not uniting people. You are dividing them. And this is like old rhetoric that has been going on for like centuries, right? Divide and conquer.
Social media, the U.S. government has actually analyzed Facebook, and they said that it's a weaponized communication tool.
For sure. You don't think that like they've been utilizing that for so long? I mean, there's so much proof of it, but I think we're getting into a time where this is that wake up. People are like, I don't have to choose either or. I'm going to be united with the people, right? And I think we're going to start seeing a big movement in that the more we are concerned with connecting people, and it's the same thing. Like if you're having a conversation and you're trying to win the conversation, you're in your ego, right? You're trying to separate yourself from that person and prove yourself right. The more you are having a conversation with people anybody who you disagree with, if your intention is to connect with them, you're going to listen to them. right? You're going to listen to their experience and their opinions, and you're going to understand how they got there. There is no growth that happens when people are trying to talk over one another. No growth happens like that. None. You're not going to ever get anywhere in a conversation with these, like, you hear like these political debates. It's like, I'm like, are you guys actually going to connect and work together at the problems at hand? No, you're just going to like just fight. Your little egos are just fighting. That's what it is. It's a world stage of egoic, like, spewing.
Well,
right?
and what example are you setting for yourself, but are you setting for your kids as well too? And I think about that all the time of, like, you know, in the United States, the presidential debate is essentially devolved to two seventh graders yelling at each other.
It's so obvious and so...
And again, like, it's hard. It's hard to hold the ground, to listen and want to see where the other person is coming from. I think it's just the us and themness of everything is just, it's bleeding into everything. But it's, as you study spirituality and you go further down the path, you start studying ritual leaders. And your job as a ritual leader is to hold the middle ground, to hold the container space for these.
For all of it.
For all of it.
All of it.
And
even the shit that drives you nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. And meet everybody listening, you know, as it resonates, if it resonates, you know, are you working to build a bridge or are you trying to blow it up? And we're not going to get by if everybody's on an island.
No, we need a whole egoic dissolution of, like, I mean, we can look at this in such a collective way that all of our systems are built on egoic structures.
Well, I mean, thank God there's people that take ayahuasca and put their journeys on Instagram and Facebook for everybody else to get inspired to dissolve their own egoic structures.
Yeah. And then never integrate their learnings. So, Alex, solving world issues one podcast at a time.
That is your claim. I am not liable for that.
Just kidding. But yeah, so, I think, like, going back to, like, the homework, sit on the other side of what charges you.
Mm.
You know,
so take, 2 minutes. The homeworks should be 3 to 4 or 5 minutes every day, right? Think of something that charges you negatively. Understand where you're feeling that within your body.
Yeah.
And then breathing through, try to put yourself on the other position of it.
Yeah, try to see the perspective of the other side of it. Like, what curiosity. That's your internal homework. And then the next time you're having a conversation where there is some polarity and mega difference of opinion, where you're hearing something that is not in agreement with you, lean in with curiosity and ask more questions. This is hard to do, but I think we're not going to get anywhere with, if we don't even have a conversation, we're just like yelling back and forth, nothing is going to happen. No change will happen. So yeah, that's everybody's homework.
So there's inner homework and outer homework.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. We're not going to love it when we have to do it.
No, I'm already kind of like cringing at some of this. I'm like,
it's cringy shit, that it's necessary, super necessary.
Well, like, even mentally I'm going through it and I'm like, but these people are idiots.
Yeah. Middle ground. It's a tough one, but it's absolutely necessary. So,
and it's not that we all have to be masters at it. We just have to get a little better at it every day.
Yeah, just start the conversations. But I think that the self-reflecting piece is really important to go there, to mentally put yourself in the opposite, right? Put yourself there. There may be nuances that you do agree with. There may be that nuances, right?
I was gonna make a joke, but it was gonna be so far out of line. I was like,
yeah, don't do it. As I'm in my very serious mode right now, but
just wrap this up. Just shut up and wrap it up.
Shut up. Okay. Should we wrap it up? Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Huffing Spirit Podcast. Remember, you are your own teacher. Take what resonates and leave the rest. For more info, follow us on Instagram at Huffing Spirit Podcast and subscribe on Spotify or iTunes. Bye for now.